Welcome back. It is 6:13 and today we recognize the start of National Crime Victims' Rights Week. It's a time to remember not just the victims but the families impacted by violent crimes. And joining us in Studio B this morning is Kern County District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer. And thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You know, we were just talking and it was 2019, your first year as the District Attorney of Kern County, and the turnout for Crime Victims' Rights Week out in front of the Superior Court was enormous, and then everything vanished because of the pandemic and whatnot. It's coming back again this year. We'll get into that in a second. But if you could, you've been with the department now, you were telling me 40 years, which is amazing. What challenges have you noticed as the DA in the past 3 years?
Well, the pandemic has presented the biggest challenge. 2019, we had a pretty good year. We really were quite aggressive in prosecuting homicides and representing victims in regional areas. And then the pandemic happened and crime went up even more. Crime has been going up for about the last 10 years, but it really took a big jump with the pandemic and then the protests. And
did that not surprise you when it took that jump like that?
No, it didn't surprise any of us. Right. I think it may be a little bit of a surprise to the public. But the overall increase in the crime rate in the last 10 years has not been a surprise to us because the laws have been changing.
Due to the pandemic and everything, there has been a lot of outreach within your department and various law enforcement when it comes to the victims and victims' families and whatnot. What challenges did that present to you as far as the outreach and getting and connecting with the people?
Well, vulnerable victims were particularly impacted during the pandemic regarding victim services in court, access to court, and we tried very, very hard to make sure that victims understand that they have rights under the law and they need to be included in the survivors and victims' family members too. It has been difficult for them. Courts have been like the audience. We've been continuing to operate, but courts have been closed as far as the audience members and limiting the number of people that can come in. So we've been doing all kinds of things to try to give access to victims and their families.
Now this week, everything is coming back in person, including the march, which is scheduled for this Wednesday. How big of a moment will that be? Because from 2019, and we're looking at the video right here, what a huge turnout for that.
It was a huge turnout. That year we emphasized unsolved homicides, and we had a lot of people come out, and victims' families, not only that their loved one's been murdered, but people that were their victims of many different crimes. We hope people return and come out in March. We're going to meet at 3 o'clock, not in front of the Liberty Bell, but just a block to the east in front of the old municipal courthouse where our offices are. We're going to have a time of prayer, and we're going to emphasize those this year who have been killed by driving under the influence offenses.
You know, when you look at a video like that, and obviously it is a moment for families and they get that camaraderie, they're coming together in one big group. What does that do for the DA's department?
It does a lot for us. It brings us together and reinforces why we do what we do, because we are passionate about crime victims, and to see them all together, have an opportunity to talk to victims that we haven't seen in many years, have parents come out whose children were murdered 15 years ago, and to see them again, and it's very inspirational.
Do we still have many cold case families that still come out to these events?
Yes, we do, and 50% of our homicides in Kern County are unsolved. So that means no justice in court for 50% of these grieving families. So those families come out as well.
What time on Wednesday?
Wednesday at 3 o'clock at 1215 Truxton.
Cynthia Zimmer joining us in Studio B this morning, talking about National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.